In the pre-sunrise phase of the digital era, two Indian businessmen meet almost entirely by chance. They put together the bones of a travel proposition, tough it out through the first few years, and then 23 years later, emerge as the travel aggregator giant that is MakeMyTrip. What an incredible journey.
All of us are passionate about traveling, whether it's to exotic destinations or visiting our relatives in their hometowns. As we plan our trips, we often switch between travel agencies to secure the best stay options and travel arrangements. Fortunately, MakeMyTrip has us covered. MakeMyTrip offers a comprehensive solution to all your travel needs, serving as your go-to platform for a complete booking experience. Founded in 2000 by Deep Kalra and Rajesh Magow, this travel company has established itself as a leader in the industry. MakeMyTrip offers competitive prices on flight tickets and provides a diverse selection of stay options, catering to a wide range of travel preferences and budgets. Under the guidance of Deep Kalra and Rajesh Magow, MMT has provided instant booking and diverse choices for Indian travelers. The founders scaled MMT's services to capture opportunities in the US-India travel market in 2005. With the rise of new airlines in the domestic travel sector, MakeMyTrip capitalized on the trend by offering convenient online bookings at affordable rates. As a result, MakeMyTrip quickly gained popularity among millions of travelers seeking the ease of online booking. Join us as we embark on this remarkable journey of creating one of the most trusted platforms in the travel industry.
And now I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Rajesh Magow, CEO and co-founder of MakeMyTrip. Rajesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. My pleasure.
It's terrific to be here. So the one thing I know about you is that both boy and man, you're a pretty competitive sportsman, especially things like badminton. Just tell me before we get going, how central has being competitive been to your career?
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. I don't think I've had this kind of a question coming to me with this kind of a sort of angle, if you will. But it's a very interesting one, and I quite like that. So I'll tell you, I think it has always been there, but in a good way, in the more constructive competitiveness, rather than just being, let's say if I'm playing a game, so, in my own group and in my own sort of, get the players that I'm playing against, whether it's a cricket game or a batting game, those are the two sports that I used to play growing up. And we'll be competitive because you want to play for winning the game.
Yeah.
But, I'm just trying to explain the constructive part of it.
Yeah.
So just bear with me. But that doesn't mean that, if I lose the game, that's the end of it.
No, you're a good sportsman.
Right, so,
Good sportsman.
yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. At the end of the day, you're playing a game and you're being competitive. At that point in time, you obviously want to give your 100%.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, yes, very, very competitive.
Were you always someone that enjoyed solving problems, understanding things? Is that part of your fabric?
Principle always, yeah, absolutely. Approach anything and very humbly approach anything, whatever comes your way, whether you have the expertise with you or don't have the expertise with you, doesn't really matter to me. Because I believed in application. Yeah. I believed in applying yourself and saying, and following the first principle sort of thought process.
Yeah, are you a fast learner?
Yes, absolutely, and I think it'll be fair to say that I'm learning even today.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't really are open to learning, literally from every little activity or incident or interaction that might happen, I might be learning something from this interaction with you as well. And it's a constant. I think it's just become part of the DNA. Because it's very important, because I don't think you can ever be in a situation where you know it all.
The unique thing about Rajesh, what I've found is that he is forever learning. So he's a CA by profession, but he has managed to learn every aspect of the online business, and he keeps learning all the time. So today he knows more about technology and product and online marketing and social media than a lot of people who are experts in that line would know.
Well, it's interesting. Okay, so we're getting a bit of a hang of you as a man. You know, we get the sense of competitiveness, of fair play, of quite a kind of deterministic approach to solving problems. So this is a bit about you. Take us to some of the origin of this story. So, chartered accountant, get your first gig, Voltus, education company?
Yeah, Aptec.
How do you make the bridge into this world? What happened? Was it luck? How did that even happen?
Yeah, and as they say, right time at right place sometimes, right? But it happened not necessarily. I think one part of it was by design, which I'll just explain it to you. The other part, that this sector .com per se was not necessarily by design, let me put it that way. So the way it happened was that, you know, after Voltas couple of years, Aptec 5 years, great stint actually, I learned a lot. And you know, it was like basic, now when I look back, it was basic education, but that was the need of the hour at that point in time, it was booming industry. And then there was a dry run of a sort with one startup back in the days, which was focusing on e-learning. So it was in education space, but e-learning. And that is when I was sort of beginning to get clearer in my head that now next move has to be something to do something on your own.
Something for you.
Yeah, for me, right? So that part was becoming a little bit more clearer in my head, and then I had the dry run and some experience of, you know, that
kind of
startup I
late
joined.
20s, getting into your mid-late 20s.
That is correct. So, or early 30s, I would say, you know, 29-ish or 30, right? So, and so that was becoming more clearer at that point in time. And then I think the game-changing moment for me was also meeting Deep. You know, Deep Kalra, this MakeMy Trip was actually his idea. We didn't know each other before. We met at MakeMy Trip. So when I met him first, the .com, I mean, you know, at that point in time, to be honest, nobody would encourage you to join a .com. Think about it. It was like pre-sunrise industry. There was hardly any internet ecosystem at that point in time. And here you meet Deep, who showed the vision in a pretty long interaction. And I quite liked him as a person, and I quite liked the clarity of thought and vision that he had.
And tell me, but how do you get going? One of the questions we're always asked in the show is, how did you even get going? What was the origin story? I mean, it's connected to flight bookers, e-bookers. Tell us about how that created.
Yeah, so no, sure, happy to. Obviously taking me back into the memory lane completely, right? So 23 years ago, right? I mean, when we look back, and we were among the first startups that we had started 23 years ago. So it's the way it happened. In fact, flight bookers, e-bookers, etc. came in later. But the way it happened was very interesting, one can say now, but it was obviously at that point in time was pretty stressful. Because when Deep thought about this idea and we joined him as sort of part of founding team, we realized very, very quickly that India was not really ready, and hell broke loose. I mean, you know, 9/11 happened, and SARS happened, and .com burst happened, and all of that happened. And we had some amount of money that we had, you know, got it from us. The commitment was there from a VC. And forget about VC not giving the second tranche. We had got $1 million. We were supposed to get another $1 million. We did not get that. You know, we didn't really have money, and we had to look for options. And that is when e-bookers were looking to. They were trying to solve their problem. Their cost base was really, really high. They used to operate from central London. And they looked at India and they said, okay, can we partner with a local partner, local company here who would have the domain as well as the talent? And they came to us, and you know, and we started working on the deal and all that. So we ended up doing a deal. MakeMy Trip got stock and cash out of it to survive. Literally, and it was not a ton of money, but it was very good for us to survive.
Okay, so we've got a bit of a hang about you, the person, the man. What drives you, what motivates you, and we're now at the stage where you're back to India, toughed it through the early stage. In the next section, can we talk about the building blocks of this business and the key milestones?
Love to, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right.
Rajesh, it's impossible for us to distill a 23-year-old history into a 23-minute show, but just pick up, if you can, when you look back at the journey, a couple of areas that were just pivotal for you guys.
A couple of things come to my mind, right? So one, of course, the IPO milestone, and again, we should not talk, enough has been talked about that, and it's now 13 years old IPO as well in the US market. But I think that the one big one, just from a sheer scale standpoint, so I'm thinking in my head, 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 100 kind of a journey, or 100 and beyond journey now. One of the very interesting market dynamics that emerged around 2014-15 when we were building our hotel business. So we were building our hotel business, then we IPO'd, we were like 90% air business. We were building our hotel business, and hotel business was tougher to build, I mean, incredibly tough to build because it was highly fragmented market. There was hardly any technology on the supplier partner side, and the brand awareness had to be also, with respect to MakeMyTrip, is also sort of available for hotel bookings, etc. Took a long time, right? And many attempts that we had to do it. As we were doing that, and we were going through that journey, the market dynamics changed. A lot of capital started to come to India because India's internet was, sort of now getting very, very exciting for everybody, for investors, for entrepreneurs, etc. And the flow of capital, the sheer full flow of capital started to change the dynamics in the market completely in terms of just going very aggressively and acquiring customers.
And this is in comparison to the way you'd built the business, right? Because you'd kind of bootstrapped it and
completely contrast. Yeah. This was not even part of our DNA. This is not even part of our thinking, and therefore we also had to course correct.
Yeah.
And first we, our defense mechanism was, no, we don't like to do this kind of business, and therefore we don't want to burn money.
Yeah.
Because this is not the way we built, let's say, for that matter, air business. We invested a ton of money, but invested in the right areas. But we are not necessarily going to go after and acquiring customers by negative unit economics to the core and so on and so forth. And we were a listed company, and we were, there was additional responsibility, for our stakeholders there as well, relative to a private setup, right? Because in a private setup, you don't really need to explain to too many people, right? Because your investors on board, they'll come on the same page. So that was a really difficult situation to be in completely different market dynamics, where we had to also learn the new game.
Was it quite scary? Did you ever think, actually, hang on, we've built this, but we could be, the next MySpace, or swept away by...
I don't think it was scary. I don't think it was scary, but there was a risk of losing market leadership position.
Yeah, and making the wrong call, right? Sticking to your guns versus...
Exactly, because sticking to your guns, your value system, the way you think that businesses need to be built, because we wanted to build long-term sustainable business and not necessarily this. So it took us little time for us to come to terms with it. And then we started acting on it. And we acted on it, and and we also started the same playbook, because one thing that was very clear, and I think that was the force behind, I would say, Jasper, and that was that we were very clear at the leadership team level that we would, whatever happens, we would never lose the hard-earned, rather, the leadership position that we have. Working really hard, relentlessly to be able to, in consumers' mind, that we had established MakeMyTrip as a brand, that point in time for air, but we wanted to also, do the same journey for the hotels. We didn't want to lose that position. In saying, okay, if this is the situation and we don't want to lose that position, here is someone who's trying to disrupt the market in a completely different model. May not be the right model. I don't know that it's not going to be a sustainable model, but we'll have to play that game. So we played that game, and we also started sort of retaliating, if you will. Late reaction, but reacted really hard. And then the situation came, then, both the parties, IBIBO Group, which was run by Naspers, was funding hugely. And they started to also think that, where is it going, this whole thing going? And then we ended up sort of making a market consolidation move and saying, okay, I don't think, and, hand on heart, admittedly, I don't think I would say that we were, as an organization, we were still, sort of in our journey to build organic businesses. We were not ready to do, a merger of this size.
I'm just trying to get a sense of you as a man. Were you able to do this because of the values of your company, a kind of thing inside you?
At the core of it, absolutely.
Yeah.
At the core of it, I would say absolutely, because we always, thought of sort of, and I think Deep would be an iconic leader in that sense, because from the word go, he was very clear in his head. Whenever we are going to scale the organization, we will have to bring in talent and better than us.
Yeah.
Right? So very, very clear. I mean, only an incredible, competent and secure person.
And confident, right?
You
You have to be
secure
confident.
and confident person would think like this.
Yeah.
And that is how the foundation of this organization was built by Deep.
Yeah.
Right? And we all sort of then joined hands.
I joined MakeMyTrip 7 years ago, and over these years, I witnessed both vertical and horizontal growth. I see a lot of colleagues around me who've been in the organization for over a decade and have grown in the system. This, I feel, is a true testimony to the company's inclusive, enabling, and meritocratic culture.
When you're quite complimentary guys, I get the sense that he's kind of long EQ, vision. He's well known for that in the market, and he's got a partner in you that's
Absolutely.
kind of
Absolutely. So when you keep in mind, in fact, in many ways, that all the core founding team were complementing each other in many ways. There will be many common things, but there were different areas of expertise that they were coming from, or the background they were.
Do you all get on? Are you friends?
We are absolutely, even today, really thick friends. In fact, if I may say so, is so much of personal bonding that we have that we share everything.
So let's draw a veil over this particular section. In the next part of the conversation, Rajesh, I'd like to talk a bit about you being an entrepreneur in India, right? How you see this market, because you're sort of a bellwether for. There aren't many people that have done 23 years in a tech firm. Can we get onto that in a minute?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Rajesh, there's a couple of schools. Let's talk a bit about Indian entrepreneurs, right? Here we are, and you're a really interesting case study because you've done 23 years. I've had some guests that have done 3 years. When you look at India as an entrepreneur, do you subscribe to the school of thought that says this is the world's greatest arenas for entrepreneurs because it's complex, difficult, etc., or does part of you think, what am I doing being an entrepreneur in somewhere so difficult?
No, absolutely. More the former than the latter, for sure. And the reason why I say that is because of two reasons. One, the sheer size of the opportunity is so exciting because, whichever way you want to look at it. If you want to see the stage of evolution of the country, it's going through a very interesting developing phase. And if you see the size of the country, size of the population, it's a very fascinating, sort of opportunity there as well. So huge market. So from that point of view, the first box is ticked, right? Everybody would say, closely seeing it from far, etc. It's a huge market, right? From demand standpoint and the developing evolution standpoint, if you will.
Okay, but if you take, let's say, the state of entrepreneurship on your watch, right? So as you said, when you started,
Yes.
being an entrepreneur wasn't, it's not a career of choice. There would have been some. Now it's totally different. But what do you say about the kind of caliber of entrepreneur we're producing in India? Sometimes people are driven by valuation. Well, where are you at with all of this?
It is, supremely talented folks. You're absolutely right, by the way. I'll just make one small point on the, back in the days. The difference used to be when we started, there will be very, very limited professional entrepreneurs. There will be second generation family because, there have been first generation family businesses, business entrepreneurs. There have been plenty. Like there are many big businesses, well-run businesses, hugely scaled up and professional, etc. as well. But there were very few who would not have the business family background and would get into it. That has changed because there are now a lot more who are coming in. But I think in terms of just caliber, just supremely talented people. We've actually seen, and I had a privilege to be associated with Flipkart as well, being on their board for many years and working closely with Sachin and Benny. when I look at my experience working with them and all, I think I would have learned a huge lot from them, whereas I was supposed to be mentoring them, and maybe, sort of in the process they learned a few things as well. But the sheer talent, the sheer energy, the sheer clarity of thought, etc., and the vision and thinking big, the ability to think big is huge.
As a leader, he's very simple, unassuming, very comfortable to work with. Once he gives you a task, he will just nudge you in a particular direction and then let you run with it entirely, while he will not lose focus on the smallest of details when required. At the end of it, he'll also praise you for the good work done. I think as a leader, he truly empowers and nurtures talent in this manner, and it's been a true privilege to work with him over all these years.
Rajesh, we're going to end up with a little bit about you. So when you think about it, here you are, you're a successful man. I know you're a private man, but you're a well-known man as well. You're a rich man and these things. What's, in your heart, what's all this for? What's all this for?
Actually, none of these things that you have mentioned, I'll tell you. Of course, like I said, the gains will come in and they will be important for everybody, family, etc. But personally speaking,
you're a very privileged man, let's say.
Yeah. No, God has been kind, super kind, absolutely. No complaints at all, absolutely super kind. I think at the core of it is it's about satisfaction and the fulfillment of achieving something, building something, achieving something. And that gives, I think I won't say, only about me, but I would say certainly for Deep, but also the leadership team in general, that gives us a lot more kick at MakeMyTrip.
Rajesh, it's a tradition of Billion Dollar Idea to end with a few quick fire questions. You game for that?
Yes, sure.
Okay, listed or non-listed?
Listed.
Cricket or badminton?
Both.
CFO or CEO?
CEO. Because when I was CFO, I was looking at myself also as CEO. I mean, it's more about taking the holistic responsibility more than designations, to be honest.
Elon Musk or Bill Gates?
Actually, well, both of them have, they're incredible personalities and very, very successful people, but I would say Bill Gates.
Okay, last couple of questions. Plane or train?
Both.
And then final topical question, cricket related. Upcoming test, England or India?
India, of course.
Rajesh Magow, as an Englishman living in India, I'm with you. You've been a fantastic guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You've been a fantastic host as well.
I think that Rajesh Magow, the man, isn't that different to Rajesh Magow, the boy. Super analytical, very competitive, but all about fair play. But what I think 23 years in is really interesting about MakeMyTrip is that it's spawned hundreds of Rajesh Magows. And in that sense, you can see this not as a 23-year business, but potentially a 100-year business. Thanks for watching. I'm Jasper Reed, and this is Billion Dollar Idea.